Pujya Swami Vireshananda Maharaj, all the dignitaries on the dais, the respected scholars and elders here, and my dear friends. It's really a privilege to present the theme note of this conference, and I can't think of any better way to do so than by a quotation from Sri Aurobindo himself. This is from his essays Divine and Human, which is the 12th volume of the complete works of Sri Aurobindo. So he says, I seek not science, not religion, not theosophy, but Veda. The truth about Brahman, not only about his essentiality, but about his manifestation. Not a lamp on the way to the forest, but a guide and light to joy and action in the world. The truth which is beyond opinion, the knowledge which all thought strives after. Yasmin Vijayati Sarvang Vijaya. I believe that Veda to be the foundation of Sanatana Dharma. I believe it to be the concealed divinity within Hinduism. But a veil has to be drawn aside, a curtain has to be lifted. I believe it to be knowledgeable and discoverable. I believe the future of India and the world to depend on its discovery and on its application. Not to the renunciation of life, but to life in the world and among men. So, as you can see, this is the Veda that we really want. But here is where we come up with this paradox of the Veda, which is that though as Hindus, as Indians, we swear by the Veda, we consider it the foundation of our civilization, of our culture, of our nation, in fact. The Veda is more or less a closed book to most of us. And it is this paradox that gives us an opportunity to embark on this journey to discover the living Veda. If I may say so, my own family, I'm supposed to be from a Rigvedan family, but nobody in my family ever told me anything about the Rig Veda. My father was a practitioner of the Gayatri Mantra, especially in the last days of his life. And I could see that the practice had transformed him. He received an initiation from a guru, but he never explained to me what the mantra was, nor was it explained to me during my Upanayana. And there lies the story of most of us in India, that we've got very little experience of the Veda. Dr. Narayan Swami, in his book on the Veda, says that most Hindus really revere the Veda. And, we have our, Shodasha Samskaras, and on all occasions there are pujas and havans. We hear Vedic mantras. We can feel their vibration, but we don't understand what they are really, what they contain. So, as I said, this is the beginning point of an exploration of this kind. And I must say that it was my cherished aspiration when I was the director of the Indian Institute of Advanced Study in Shimla, that we begin a very serious discussion on the Vedas, involving the top academics of the country and abroad, but also the great spiritual gurus, which still live in our midst, and the great traditions that we have, like the Ramakrishna Mission, which is a tradition of very learned monks and inspired by the great Swami Vivekananda, and all the other people who are, in some ways, Vedanishta. They have faith in the Veda. How to bring them together and start this conversation. But unfortunately, there was COVID, there were other obstacles, and it could not happen in Shimla, at 7,500 feet. But I'm so happy that it has happened in Bangalore at 3,000 feet. Sometimes we have to come down a little bit, from the Himalayan heights for our aspirations to find fruition. And the reason that this has happened are these two remarkable individuals who are in our midst today, Dr. Jagirdar and Dr. Sabnis. You've heard one, you'll hear the other at the end. And the two great organizations that they represent, which is, of course, the Sri Aurobindo Society, as well as Sakshi. Now, for those who don't know this, Sakshi is a spiritual movement. I'm quoting from their mission statement. The aim is to spread the message of the Veda and Sri Aurobindo, which imbibes awareness to lead beautiful, harmonious, creative, and happy life, individually and collectively. So this is actually the objective of the Sakshi Trust. And we are very fortunate that Sakshi is carrying on the work of Sri Aurobindo, who gave us the key to understanding the Veda, and the great T.S. Kapali Shastriyar, who is very dear to some of us personally, because he also links the two great souls or saints, the living embodiment of Veda, Ramana Maharshi himself, who spoke very little, as you know. He was a man of silence, and Sri Aurobindo. And Kapali Shastriyar was himself a disciple of Nayanar, Kavya Kantha Ganapati Muni. And I will quote one line from Kapali Shastriyar, whose name is a part of the Sakshi Trust. He says, Sri Aurobindo, the discoverer of Vedic symbolism, the teacher who has recovered for us the lost light to illumine the passages of the Veda for intelligent grasp and perception of the truths couched in the hymnal texts of the mystics. So you have Sri Aurobindo, then you have Kapali Shastri, and then if you're talking about the Trayi or the Trimurti, because even the Vedas were called Trayi initially. The Atharva Veda was not included in these three. There was the Riks of the Rig Veda, there was Yajus, which was prose of the Yajur Veda, and Sama, or the music, the song of the Sama. So the Trayi, like Shankaracharya also said, Prasthana Trayi, and the three bodies, the three lokas, right? The three levels, the three worlds, etc., etc. So the third in this triumvirate is, of course, the great K.L. Kashyapji, R.L. Kashyapji, R.L.K. It's if you go to the Sakshi publications, it's full of these initials like MGR, So you get a bit confused. There's so many initials. But as you know, R.L. Kashyapji, a PhD from Harvard. He was also a graduate of IISc. He got his master's from here. He was also a national fellow at Harvard. He got his engineering degree from there. He taught at Purdue, which was a neighboring school to my university, the University of Illinois. For many years, he was a professor of engineering. And then he came back to India, settled here in Bangalore, and did his life's work, which is the translation of 27,000 mantras and verses of all the four Vedas. Now, this is an extraordinary achievement. I don't know if anybody else in the world has done it. I don't think anyone has, and he has translated them into English. All the four Vedas with translations and commentary. And of course, Sakshi has made it available. So this is the legacy that we have. And so I had to wait for this fortunate Triveni, of Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati, for this series. I hope it's going to be a series of the living Veda to manifest. I'm saying it's a series because this is LV1. With your blessings and cooperation, we want to continue this. Dr. Sabnis said we should at least do 5. And I take that to mean an introductory conference and then one on each of the Veda. But this should be an infinite series, actually, because Swami Dayananda gave us the slogan, back to the Veda, in the 19th century. He conscientized India, and he wanted us to go back to the wisdom of the Veda, because in it was actually the essence of our civilization. But more and more, as we hurtle towards a very uncertain, should I say, and perilous 21st century with wars, with epidemics, with an ecological crisis, with an economic crisis, all kinds of crises, it seems more and more clear that the Veda and the tradition that the Veda represents of the Sanatana Dharma actually has the wisdom to save humanity and planet Earth from certain suicide. Because as Dr. Subnis said, one of the truths of the Vedas, one of the secrets of the Vedas is that we are in a continuous, never-ending struggle all the time between the forces of light and darkness. Call them the Vritras, the Panis, the Dasyus, call them what you will. They are the ones who want to, should I say, capture the cows of light and of higher consciousness and hide them for their own pleasure and profit in the netherworlds, in the caves, or the rivers, the life-giving rivers, or the rays of light. This was the symbolism of the Vedas that Sri Aurobindo discovered in the cycles of the stories that the Rig Veda contains. So there are these forces, the Asuric forces, who are only interested in pleasure and profit and power. And they are, as it were, keen to dominate and control and crush the rest of humanity. In fact, use the resources of planet Earth for their own pleasure and consumption. And the earth itself is groaning or reeling under the weight of all these Asuric forces. And almost 8 billion human beings, I think our human race is populated beyond the carrying capacity, possibly, of Mother Earth. But it is the wisdom of the Vedas which can teach us to consume responsibly. And in fact, the Vedas contain not the primitive, should I say, the primitive ramblings of people who were worshipping forces of nature, as the Western scholars sought, with whatever intentions. I'll come to that in a moment. I think Dr. Subnis also referred to that. But they contain what we might consider the species wisdom. That is, when Homo sapiens sapiens evolved into mental beings, that's why we are called Manushya, because we are endowed with the mind. We had this wisdom which could save the species, our own species, and along with it, the planet of which we are custodians. And therefore, the wisdom of the Vedas cannot be understood only through the historical, critical, philological method that the West applies. And we are still in the middle of this conflict, I would say, of misunderstanding, because though the West did a lot to give us back our own traditions, including Max Muller, who published the Vedas, as well as Sayana's commentary, without which the textual study of the Vedas would not have been possible. And Griffiths and H.H. Wilson, Hyman Horace Wilson, and all these people, and many more, and more recently, Stephanie Jameson and Joel Brereton, who have translated the Rig Veda in 3 volumes for Oxford University Press about 9 years ago, in fact. I was looking at their introduction just before I make some notes for today, Swamiji, and they do not mention Sri Aurobindo, they do not mention Kapali Shastri, they do not mention R.L. Kashyapji, even in their bibliography. So this is a sign of a terrible scholarship or prejudice or ignorance, I don't know what it is. So it was Kipling who said, East is the East and West is West, and never the twain shall meet. But Sri Aurobindo shows that the twain shall meet, as did Swami Vivekananda, because they actually showed us the path to Indian modernity, which lies not in going back in time to some golden age. It is not revivalism, or it is not the worship of the past. It is not, therefore, also the slavery to the West. So you have these two polar opposites, which is neocolonialism, colonialism, buying into the universal narrative of the West, the universal civilization of the West, based on science and technology, which is a materialistic, consumeristic, physical-oriented civilization. To buy into that and become its servants, that is not the way for India, nor is the way to go back somehow. We cannot go back, we can only move forward. And it was Sri Aurobindo and Swami Vivekananda who were prophets of the future. Only a new creation, but the way to the future in a way lies through the past. So the Vedic wisdom cannot be dated in both senses of the word. It can't be chronologically fixed in time, as Western scholars have tried, because it is archetypal and it's symbolic knowledge. So as the times change, as we evolve, we continually find new ways to understand it. So what is the secret of the Veda? And can the secret of the Veda be revealed? And the answer is that even if it is revealed, it will still remain a secret. That doesn't mean we shouldn't try to reveal it or unravel it. And I want to spend a few moments on that. But the point I was trying to make is that it is the wisdom of the Vedas, as I said, which not only has the capacity to save our species and planet Earth, it also has a way to show us how to do it, which is by reconciling, by synthesizing the past and the present, which is the other antinomy, the other opposition, but also the East and the West, because we cannot reject the modern scientific, technological knowledge or the society and civilization that it has created. We can't reject it. We have to divinize it. We have to spiritualize it. We cannot reject technology because technology and consciousness are going to be fused not only through AI, but in ways we cannot imagine easily. We have imagined it in science fiction, but it is we Indians and the inheritors of this wisdom that have this mission to spiritualize technology, to divinize technology, because wherever there is consciousness, and we believe consciousness is everywhere. Consciousness is not just confined to human beings or even to sentient beings like animals and plants. The whole universe is conscious. The whole universe is pulsating with consciousness, which means that every object responds to the force of consciousness, including microchips. Anyhow, this is a very big topic. I have 6 minutes and 51 seconds. But I'm just throwing these ideas to you that it is Vedic wisdom that can reconcile the past and the present, the East and the West, as well as safeguard the future of humanity and of planet Earth. But let's just very quickly look at what is the secret of the Veda, okay, if there is a secret. And again, I shall quote Sri Aurobindo. The Secret of the Veda is the name of his book. He says, and I quote him, "The central conception of the Veda is the conquest of the truth out of the darkness of ignorance, and by the conquest of the truth, the conquest also of immortality." For the Vedic rhythm is spiritual as well as psychological. It is the true being, the true consciousness, the true delight of existence beyond this earth of body, this mid-region of vital force, this ordinary sky or heaven of mind. We have to cross beyond these planes in order to arrive at the higher plane of that superconscious truth, a truth which is the own home of the gods and the foundation of immortality. This is the world of Swara, to which the Angirasas have found the path for their posterity. Angirasas, my brother is an Angirasa, right? Anyhow, so what is the secret of the Veda? The secret of the Veda is also the secret of our own nature. And we, human beings, have a dual nature. We are born of the earth. There are in us those material, physical tendencies. But we are also born of the sky. We are also born of Brahman. we are also born of that spark of immortality, which is already in us. So we have this dual nature. And it is given to each of us to discover that. And that discovery of the psyche, or the Chaitya Purusha, is the way to discover the Atma Veda. So the Vedas, the secret of the Vedas is not just, I said the Vedas are a closed book to many of us, but that's okay. That's the bad news. But the good news is that the Vedas don't represent just to 4 books, to scriptures. The Veda really means the knowledge of who we are. Veda means Atma Vidya. That is the Veda. And that is already in all of us. It's already in our DNA. So with the awakening of inner intelligence, with the grace of the gurus, with the grace of the gods, with the grace of our ancestors, with good company, with the yama and niyama that we have been taught from childhood, these truths will start revealing themselves to us, to each of us. Because that is the promise of the Antara Veda, which is already in all of us. Okay? So, the secret of the Veda, in other words, is the secret of Atma Vidya. And instead of individualization, which is what we teach in all our schools, we should have Atmanization. Each cell of our body should be Atmanized, okay? That is the secret of the Veda. And of course, the Gayatri promises us immortality. So how do we become immortal? And the Veda tells us it is through sacrifice, it is through yajna. Now we may think that sacrifice is giving up, and giving up is a very difficult thing. Actually, that is a misunderstanding. First of all, there is nothing of ours. We ourselves were created out of sacrifice, because the divine infinite being, by sacrificing itself or himself or herself, made itself into individual atoms, tiny bits of itself, through self-sacrifice, to know himself better, to enjoy himself better. So we are born of sacrifice. Nothing belongs to us. So if we give up whatever is not already our own, it's not a great sacrifice. And what do we have to give up? What do we have to sacrifice? We only have to sacrifice our lower nature. And everything in the lower nature, everything that is mortal in us, and we are all mortals, I hope we know that. This body is going to be, sooner or later, burnt, taken to the ghats, burned, buried, whatever, and it will mingle back into the elements. But to offer our lower nature to our own higher nature, that is the yajna, that is the ahuti, that is the sacrifice that is called upon us. And when we do that, when that rose of our lower nature is completely burnt in the Agni, that is the offering, then we all become immortal. So this, in my view, is my understanding through my own reading of Sri Aurobindo and my own contemplation of what is the secret of the Veda. But as I said, the secret being told still remains a secret, because the secret is infinite. The Vedas themselves are infinite. And let us all join in this, I would say, noble endeavor, let noble thoughts come to us from all sides, says the Rig Veda. So, Ano Bhadra Kritavo Yantu Sarvatha. So, this is the Sanatana Parampara, this is our dharma, this is what we were born for, and this is what we are fortunate enough to participate in. And with this Veda Yajna, I feel, I hope, I aspire and I pray that we have also the capacity to give to the world something that it is really, really thirsty for and lacking in. With these words, and with 30 seconds to spare, my pranams to all. Thank you so much. Thank you.